Another day, another attack. This has unfortunately become the norm in Tropico. And just when things appear to be stable, gorillas come sprinting out of the jungle and start flinging their poop at Tropicans. Wait, that's the wrong kind of gorillas. The kind we're dealing with is the kind that like to blow up buildings and scare tourists away. They complain that El Presidente hasn't provided them enough liberty and that they are unhappy. Well, El Presidente's had enough. He tells Penultimo to give them liberty and give it to them as quickly as possible. This will involve a number of changes to the way Tropican society works, including a new constitution, mostly the same as before, but with bigger pictures of El Presidente, more military and spycraft. El Presidente intends to spread liberty one explosion at a time, and perhaps a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card to any gorillas smart enough to throw away their camo and head back to the mines. This is going to be expensive, but don't worry, El Presidente has that covered too. He has demanded office spam to generate big profits and suggested modernizing plantations, mines, and ranches. Penultimo agrees that the plan is sound and that he will have no problem executing it, or the gorillas. So get ready for conflict. It's time to show those gorillas who's boss and remind the tourists just how safe Tropico can be, as long as they don't mind the tanks. Today, it's liberty for everybody, whether they ask for it or not. And remember, El Presidente has been browsing through your internet history, and if you don't hit the like and subscribe button, he might just show it to the world. And without further ado, let's jump right in. This right here is a bit of a problem. These are a bunch of gorillas running towards the palace, attempting to take down Tropico. And this isn't the only place where this is happening. This is happening on our tourist island. It's happening over by our power plants. It's happening by all of our plantations. All at once, an insurrection is rising and Tropico is about to be taken down. So that's why I've paused things. We have to do a little bit of research, figure out why this is happening, and come up with a plan of attack to attack the gorillas. So the first thing I want to do is look at the almanac, and I can see right away what the problem is. You can see that we have a very low liberty score, at least relative to everything else. When we dive into happiness, you can see that this is the lowest thing, and it's been moving kind of in the right direction, but maybe not fast enough. And ultimately, 42 is just not high enough to prevent gorillas from appearing. Now, ultimately, I think that we have to take a multi-pronged approach to fix this, starting out with a bit of research. We've got a number of knowledge points banked, and there are going to be a number of things that we can unlock in here that will help stop the rebellion. First, I want to think about the Constitution. What would improve liberty? I think marriage rights would, along with media independence. I also want immigration because right now Tropicans are not necessarily allowed to leave, and if you don't love Tropico, I want you to get off the island. So we'll study that as well. And finally, religion and state. This will allow us to change the role of religion in Tropican society. That will also improve liberty. And with that, there's only one more thing to research that impacts our economy, and that's global markets. So let's do this as well. And now I want to think about the military a bit. First things first, I want to make the aircraft carrier better, so I'm going to research the work modes here. And second, I want to research the policy of détente. This will unlock an edict that will allow us to basically give a get-out-of-jail-free card to gorillas. So there's a 50% chance that they will lose their role as a gorilla, and some of the leaders might even step down and not be a leader. This will decrease our standing with the conservatives, but that's fine. We actually have a very high standing with the conservatives right now. And we can run this every 5 years, which will mean that we probably want to run this on a rolling basis. Now, I don't want to stop here. There are a few more things I want to unlock, including our office work modes. We're going to be placing a number of offices in a second, so this is going to be really important. The research lab, which will actually make the office more efficient. Cathedral work modes, which will actually turn the cathedral into a law enforcement building, which is going to be really helpful. Now, we still have over 1,300 knowledge points, so I'm just going to kind of try to unlock everything from the modern era. And I queued up mostly things that we have built or things that I thought that we might build in short order. Now, let's adjust our constitution. Starting with voting rights, we're going to let all citizens vote. That will definitely lead to lots of liberty. We'll leave armed forces with professional soldiers. We absolutely have to have soldiers at this point. For religion and state, we will allow freedom of religion. For immigration, we say love it or leave it. Decreases the chance of an unhappy citizen staying on Tropico by 50%. Hopefully they all leave. For media independence, we'll have free media, which won't impact liberty at all. For marriage rights, we'll say open marriage. Anyone can get married. We'll have same-sex marriage. This will increase global liberty by 5 and tourism by 2. For global market economy, we'll go with international trade partnerships, which will increase trade export route prices by 10%. So hopefully that helps us juice our economy. For healthcare, we'll stick with our hybrid system. I don't think that we can afford to make a change right now, but that will be something we do in the future. And for ecology, I think we're going to switch over to zero emissions because if we don't, I have a feeling that the environmentalists are going to come after us. So we'll confirm these changes, but we're not ready to resume things just yet. And that's because we have a lot of things to queue up. Starting right here at the palace, I want to add 4 more guards. Additionally, I want to unlock the Overwatch Tower. This is basically the modern version of the Watchtower. And unlocking this will allow me to upgrade the old Watchtowers to Overwatch Tower, as well as place one of these. And we're going to place this within close view of the palace. I'm also going to upgrade all of the old Watchtowers. It's only 750 bucks. And I'm going to quick build this Overwatch Tower right here. Now, while I'm over here, I want to turn my attention to the aircraft carrier because we unlocked a new work mode here. I want to switch it to Precision Strike. Every attack will cost an extra 1,000 bucks. However, the damage is increased by 50% and it will cause no collateral damage. So I feel like this is worth it. Now, eventually, I want to move the aircraft carrier. I don't think it's in the best location. I think we want it to be kind of in the center of the islands. However, knowing that they are marching towards the palace, we're going to leave it right here for a while. Now, while we're still thinking about military, I want to make a couple adjustments over here. In particular, I want to add the Ministry of Information. They will help us discover hidden roles and arrange accidents if we need them. So we'll unlock that for 4,500 and hide that thing over here. And now we've got to come over here by our power plants because we've got all sorts of problems. So they are going after the power plants because they want to destroy the economy. So we need to find a way to protect these. Now, I thought that having the commando garrison right here wasn't going to be a problem, but it's actually decreasing liberty and spawning guerrillas for all the workers who work here. So I want to reconfigure this area. We're going to be building a whole bunch of military stuff up here. Starting out with an army base to protect our power plants. A defense headquarters, which will actually increase the range of defensive buildings. A prison because we got to lock some of the rebels up. And a cyber operations center, which is basically the commando garrison of modern times. But this will help us fix our tourist ratings, which have been absolutely decimated by all the guerrilla attacks. And then to protect this area, I want to add an Overwatch Tower. Now, the last thing that I want to add up here is the commando garrison. So we'll relocate this to right here. So now all these buildings that decrease liberty are confined to this location, far enough away from these locations that they shouldn't cause problems. But we still have some problems over here, such as lots of fires and not enough power. I'm going to rebuild this, and then I want to clone the power plant a couple of times. This is going to be really expensive, but it means that we won't run out of power on any of the islands. And reasonably, we're going to be needing lots of power in short order anyway. Then finally, our poor tourist island. This is being attacked incessantly. And I think I have a solution, but it's going to be a little bit extreme. Basically, I want to have 3 Overwatch towers on this bluff up here, shooting down at the guerrillas. It should make it impossible for them to actually get to us, but we'll be able to take them out as they're attacking us. The first thing that I'll do is build a road up here. And then let's place these Overwatch towers. And now we have to build a tunnel over here. And you know, this is a mess, but it's going to work just fine. And you know, now that I think about it, there's one more thing that I want to add up here. You want to mess with El Presidente? A drone's going to come after you. So we'll add a drone command up here as well. And now we have to figure out how to pay for all of this. And unfortunately, on this island, it means disabling every single tourist amenity. And that's because if we take a look at our economy, our tourist rating has dropped down to 6, and there are currently 0 tourists here. So everything on this island is costing us a boatload of money, and it's making us nothing. So this is going to be painful, but I'm going to disable every single building here. And the next way that we improve the economy is by building offices. Offices generate profit based on the number of all employed workers in Tropico. So this is going to be an incredibly helpful thing for us. And I'm going to build a ton of them. And that even though I've spent a ton of our money, we're going to speed all of these along. Now I want to adjust the work mode of each of these individually because they're all very, very different. The first work mode will generate $2 on base efficiency per employed citizen across Tropico, and you can imagine how many of them that we have. So I want at least 2 of these set to that mode. That'll be $4. Our second work mode will give us $2 per family living in a residential building outside of shacks. So I want 2 of these as well. The third work mode will give us $5 on base efficiency per employee of a government or finance building, of which we have a lot of them. So I want 2 of these as well. And that leaves us with 1 more building and 2 work modes. One is solid business. This gives us 75 cents per citizen oriented towards the conservative faction. And progressive business gives us 75 cents per citizen oriented towards the intellectual faction. Now my guess is these are both not going to be as good as some of the other work modes, but let's check out our factions. We have more intellectuals than conservatives, but it's basically 50-50, and it's not all that many relative to the number of employees that we would have, for instance. So honestly, I think I'll just set 3 to consumer business. Now for all of these, I want to max out the efficiency, and you can see that our power balance is in the negative, which means that these will not be working appropriately. So I'm going to quick build one of our power plants and speed this along. Now thankfully, we got some more money from a freighter. That's really helpful. This is not operational yet. We have to wait for the uranium to get there, but I want to crank the budget so that we get more power once it does get there. And there are a couple more things I want to do before we resume things. First, I want to take the research lab and I want to change the work mode. And we're going to switch this to invest knowledge because this will increase the efficiency for all the offices and make them even more valuable for us. And we'll purchase cloud computing because this will decrease the upkeep of this building, so it'll make it cheaper in the long run and decrease the amount of electricity we need for it. And right now, this needs 75 megawatts of power, which is quite a bit. Next, I want to take all of these Overwatch towers and upgrade them. So we'll add shoot faster, which increases the fire rate to 150%. This will cost us about half of our money, which is rough. And finally, I want to adjust the cathedral. We have a new upgrade here, the Dunning Confessional. This will make this building start emitting 15 crime safety, which is going to be incredibly helpful. And then finally, I want to go to the ministry and appoint some new advisors. For the Department of Education, I want this communist candidate because it will increase the number of education slots by 2 per teacher. This is going to be really important because all those offices need college-educated employees. At the Department of Defense, we're going to hire the conservative candidate who will cause our squads to damage rebels by 10% more. For the Department of Economy, we're going to hire the capitalist candidate because they're going to increase the maximum efficiency by 7% across the board. That will make us more money. For the Department of Foreign Affairs, we're going to go with our industrialist candidate for the time being. This will hopefully help our economy, but eventually I want to switch over to our environmentalist candidate who will improve our tourist rating. And then finally, for the Department of the Interior, we're going to hire the religious candidate because they will give rebels and criminals a 10% chance to lose their role every time they visit a chapel or a church or a cathedral. And on that last note, I think I want to add some more religious buildings. So we'll add one more church right here. And I'm going to speed this along as well. Actually, now that I think about it, there are a couple more things that we have to do. First, we've got 2 embassies here. We've got to move someone in. And it looks like we're basically frosty with everyone except for China. I think I'm going to invite the Middle East and the EU in. And we'll probably want to build an embassy for the US and Russia so that we can work with them as well. But right now, we just can't afford it. But there is a way that we can help with that. That's by taking a look at our raids. And right now we have nothing going on. So I'm going to set some things to basically continuously operate. With the Pirates Cove, I want them to go on treasure hunts basically all the time. This is cheap and it'll get us some money. For the Commando Garrison, I want them to constantly go on a guerrilla patrol. This can reduce the number of guerrillas by up to 5. And then for the Spy Academy, we're going to go for observation. This will help us find hidden roles of our citizens up to 10 at a time. And it'll also reduce the chance of a citizen turning into a rebel or criminal by 20%. So this is a good one. Now for all of these, I held down Shift as I clicked them, which means that they'll just keep repeating and they'll keep doing these operations. Once our Cyber Operations Center is constructed, we're going to have fantasy reviews to try to improve our tourist rating, but we can't do that just yet. Now, I also want to take a look at our trade routes to see if there are any that we're not actually fulfilling or doing anything with, and we can cancel those and replace them with better ones. And it looks like we're not currently exporting fish. You can see that we've exported nothing and it's been running for 27 months. So I'm going to cancel this. This will upset China, but ultimately I think that we have to do it. Unfortunately, we have the exact same thing happening with furniture. I will cancel this. And this means that we probably need to establish some more trade routes with China to make up for those. And we have one more broken trade route that is hides with the US. They are not going to like this, but we're going to cancel this one as well. So this means that we have 3 open trade routes. So let's see what we have for offers. We'll export some coconuts to China, some oil to the US, and we'll send milk their way as well. And then finally, I want to take a look at the edicts. Now, underneath World Wars, there's an edict that I've been eyeballing, right to arms. This is going to increase liberty by 15 while decreasing crime safety by 10. I think it's going to be a trade worthwhile making. This is going to make everyone so much happier because everyone will be able to have their own gun, I guess, which is what they really want. And then finally, under modern times, we're going to enable this policy of detente. This will enable us to get rid of some of the guerrillas and the rebels and hopefully stop the attacks. But before I enable this, I just want to see how many we have. And we currently have 56 rebels that we know of and 2 rebel leaders that we know of. Let's give them that get out of jail free card.
The rebels are starting to get bored of sleeping in the hills and eating stone soup. I hear the Wi-Fi out there is terrible. If we made it our official policy to forgive and forget, many would hang up their guns and come back to their jobs and the comforts of modern life. For those who are still upset that their houses were blown up in all the kerfuffle, that's what Truth and Reconciliation Commissions were made to gloss over.
Well, you know, the Wi-Fi isn't good out in the woods, so we'll issue this edict. 213 rebels converted and 17 guerrillas. That is insane. That means that there's probably that many still out there. My goodness. Now, we still have $365, so we should spend it, I guess. Because I think that we need a couple more security checkpoints so that we can figure out roles. Including one right here going into our power plant area, and 2 going into our plantation area. And now we have the uncomfortable task of waiting for a while as the guerrillas attack us and things get built.
Do you have a bucket? Are you a team player? Then Tropico needs you, citizens, because it's on fire!
I love Penultimo.
An impromptu vandalism competition ended in victory today for the Tropican rebels as they beat the local authorities by 2 whole walls.
I'm rooting against the rebels. Now, I'm going to rebuild this right away and then crank the budget on the army base. And now that all of this has been built, there's one more thing that I want to do over here. Let's build a fire station so that things stop burning. I'll quick build this so we can put out some of these fires, crank the budget, and then I absolutely want a firefighting helicopter over here and high pressure water nozzles. Then let's see, yes, we can send a helicopter over here now, which should be very helpful. Same thing with this building. Now the guerrillas have returned here, but thankfully we have the upper hand. And anytime that you see this green indicator, it means that we're going to win the battle. We took care of those guerrillas. They've been defeated. That is wonderful and what we want to see. Now, one thing we don't want to see over here is all of these little package icons. That means that we're out of raw materials. And it looks like we don't have enough steel. Now, our steel needs coal and iron, and we're running out of coal. And we have coal right here, but we have this old mine. I wonder if we were to modernize this, if this would improve things. We have to unlock that, though. So let's unlock the automated mine. Now that we have that, we should be able to upgrade this. And this will now take a substantial amount of electricity, but we're generating a ton of it, so I don't really mind that at all. And we'll crank the budget. We also have this filter system upgrade. We might as well do this. This will increase the job quality by 10. And then for our work modes, we have this waste not protocol, which for an extra 15 megawatts will increase the efficiency by 20% and decrease the amount that we actually are expending from the mine by 0.05. Seems like a good deal, but if we're going to do this, maybe we just want to modernize all the mines. This will cost us all of our money. I think it's going to be worth it. We'll crank the budget on all of these and add this upgrade across the board, which will decrease pollution. And then again, set that waste not protocol. And even with all that, we still have almost 600 megawatts of extra electricity, which is wonderful. So let's come back over to our tourist island, which is currently a nightmare war zone. So I think there's a couple things that we can do. First, with this drone command, we're currently only going after high priority targets. Nah, Opposition is reason enough. Anyone is getting targeted. And we'll crank the budget so everyone wants to work here. And let's add this supervised AI so that every worker can execute one additional order per shift. And then this all reminds me that we need to improve our tourist rating. So let's start a cyber operations center raid. And we'll enable fantasy reviews, which will basically have perfect ratings for every single tourist type that will constantly be spawned. And considering our tourist rating is now 2, this is bound to help. And then the last big thing that we have to do is take this aircraft carrier and relocate it. We have to wait till we have a bit more money, but I want to place it right about here. And now the waiting game kind of begins. So I want to take care of some of these quests. So one of the quests is to modernize an apartment. So let's grab an apartment building close to our core. And to upgrade this, we have to unlock modern apartment. And while we're in here, I'm going to also unlock secure mansion and modern mansion, because another thing that we have to do is modernize a mansion. So I'll modernize this apartment as well as this apartment. I think at this point, having conservative standing is going to be more beneficial for me than actually getting the money. So we'll go for that. We're also going to modernize a mansion.
Pleasure doing business.
That makes the capitalists like us. The Middle East would like us to visit their embassy. That's easy enough. And I believe that that one is right here. So we'll send El Presidente there.
Oh man, I really don't like feeling this angry. It really ruins my mellow.
And then finally, we have to make the environmentalists happy. They want a wind turbine. Now, we have to keep this away from residential properties. I think I'm going to actually move it way over here to our tourist island. And this has me thinking. We have an infantry over here, but we have a lot of guerrilla problems, and now we have a bit of money. As soon as we have a bit more money, I'm going to build an army base over here.
You're a friend of the earth, Presidente. In return for your help, a potato, still covered in authentic dirt.
And apparently the turbine was good enough to get a potato. That's lovely. Now, we have the opportunity to renew this policy, so I think that we're going to. This will cost us $5,000, but again, we can reduce the number of guerrillas and rebels that we have. And this time we converted 56 rebels and 26 guerrillas. And if we're to believe this number, we currently have 40 rebels, 40 rebel leaders, and between 55 and 61 guerrillas. I think we're going to use our prison now and arrest all the rebel leaders. Now, I could have made an example of them, but that would have caused even more problems. I could have also bribed them. I don't think that would have helped. I feel like this is the best way of solving my rebel problem. The only other thing that I could think of to improve liberty would be to directly attack it with media buildings, which I think we should probably do as well. So over here, let's add a newspaper and radio station. And we'll add a TV station near downtown and adjust the library work mode and crank the budget. So if we go to uncensored portfolio, this building will start to emit 15 liberty. We'll also add the academic department and e-bookshelves, making this much more efficient. And finally, we already have a newspaper down here. We had this set to penny saver. This is probably not the right move for us. We'll make it the open mind and then crank the efficiency. We'll do the exact same thing for the radio station. Just want to make sure that we're focusing on liberty once again. And now at this point, I think it's a bit of a waiting game, and we just have to let some of the rebels get taken out. And after waiting a few minutes, we can finally enable the policy of detente again. And this time we only converted 11 rebels, but we converted 19 guerrillas, which is great. And now we're down to 12 rebels, 1 rebel leader, and 32 to 42 guerrillas. And the rebel leader's already in prison. That's great. And now that we have a bit of money and we're taking care of the rebels basically on autopilot, there's a couple of things that I want to do. First, let's build a couple of embassies. We'll build one right here for the Americans. And then we'll build one over here near the university for the Russians. And then while those are building, I want to modernize all of the plantations and ranches. Now, this is going to make these all look really weird, but I think it's the right choice. Let's unlock hydroponic plantations, and we'll get factory ranches as well. And for the whole lot of them, it'll be $100,000. And now this is really tiny and strange looking. So let's clean it up a bit. And now let's crank the budget on all of these. For the work mode, Let's go almost free of nature. This will consume additional electricity, but really increase the efficiency by quite a bit. We only have a network balance of 32 though, so we're gonna wanna be careful of this. And it looks like we don't have to apply the upgrades. Now for our ranches, we're gonna upgrade all these as well. This will only be $26,000. And now let's reorganize these a bit. Now, the alternative title for this episode is Tropico Embraces the Grid, but you know what? I think it looks pretty good. But here's the thing. We didn't only impact this area, we also significantly impacted this area over here. So let's reorganize this area. And then finally, a couple of things. First and foremost, I can see that this is out of something. It looks like it's corn. We don't have corn. So I'm going to open up a couple of new plantations. And these will be specifically for corn. And because it's these newer modern plantations, they can go anywhere. So we'll build those right there. And then I want to make sure that we're cranking the budget here. And for our work mode, using light and sun, which will increase the efficiency. Now with this, we have a 303 megawatt deficit. There are two things that we can do to address this. First, I want to go over to our power plant and just make sure that our new power plants, yeah, the budget's not cranked. Let's change that. And then we have a demand for a solar power plant from the environmentalists. So let's go ahead and build a few of these. And honestly, I think at this point, it's about high time that we abandon all of these coal power plants. And these don't fit cleanly in here, so I'm going to add one and quick build it. And then I'm going to spread out the rest of these solar power plants. So I think I'll add one over here to this island that has all of our farming.
You put the Earth first and now everyone is happy. Or they would be if they knew how important the planet was.
Well, at least they're happy. And then I built 3 right here on the main island. Now for all of these, I'm going to set the budget to max. I want to apply this upgrade right here, which will increase the power output by 10%. And then we don't have the other work mode, but it's nice to know that it's here. We can increase the power production by 25% if we need to, but this will make the power plant deteriorate over time. So I don't know that I want to do that. Now I realized I never added anyone into our embassies. So let's add the US right here. And they're thrilled with us. So let's ask for some financial aid and then praise them in return. And we'll add the Russians over here. We'll do the exact same thing. And now that things are starting to stabilize and we've modernized everything, it's time to get this tourist island working once again. So the first thing I want to do is re-enable all of our attractions down here. And I also re-enabled one hotel. Not any more than that though. And I want to point out, I noticed that this gourmet restaurant was set to dignitaries only, so I switched it to gold and silverware because we're too far away from the embassy for that work mode to work. And then for our golf course and our cocktail bar and even the souvenir shop, I set the work mode to be default so that we can let anyone in. That's because I don't want to be picky at this point in time. We'll open up our tourist ports again and our parking deck. And then finally, our tour office and all of our cabins. And while we're over here, there's one thing that many people pointed out in the comments. This isn't actually being worked, and that's because I have to actually add the ancient ruins to this. And now this is actually an attraction. So we'll crank the budget here and set this to theme park exploits so that it has a higher fee and better quality. We had some really fortuitous timing right here. We had a couple of ministers resign or vacate their posts. So I want to take a look at these. I think for the Department of Defense, at this point, I want to decrease the upkeep cost of military buildings. So we'll go with the capitalist. For the interior, we'll once again go with the religious candidate. And then for the Department of Foreign Affairs, we're going to fire the industrialist candidate and hire the environmentalist candidate who will improve our tourism rating. Now, there are a couple of quests which are actually tourism related, so I want to complete these right away as well. For whatever reason, the religious want a hang gliding area, so we're going to add that. And we'll add this by Big J. And the capitalists want a yacht club. So I think I'll remove one of these beach villas and add the yacht club here instead. And then finally, before we wait and see what tourism does, I want to enact one more edict. Speedway, which will increase the speed of vehicles using roads by 15%. This is the exact opposite of what I did in my career, so this will be fun.
I have heard it said that Tropican roads are just not fast enough. But we can fix that with just a little regular investment in infrastructure. Don't be fooled by pipe dreams about public transportation or bicycles, or perish the thought, universal pedestrian access. No, the automobile is the way to go because faster is always better. And if we wear out the surfaces faster, well, you can kiss my freshly laid tarmac.
We're going to go with that. Let's also legalize some substances. This will increase liberty, decrease religious standing. They'll be fine. They've got their hang gliding area. The conservatives will also be upset. They'll be fine as well.
What a hassle it is enforcing the ban on certain substances that all the citizens seem to enjoy, just because they happen to be called illegal drugs. But names are our flexible resource, and, hey presto, now they are not illegal drugs, they are medicinal substances. And while we are at it, why not go all the way and call them taxable revenue? It is so much better to take taxable revenue instead of paying the police to confiscate illegal drugs.
That's logic, Penultimo. Let's do it. And now let's see how many tourists we get. And the policy of détente just lapsed, so let's enable that once again. And 3 rebels converted and 15 guerrillas. We're down to just 4 rebels and 20 to 32 guerrillas. That's wonderful. And I've let things simulate for a little while, and a couple of things have happened. First of all, our rebel threat has now decreased to low. And the whole reason that's happened is that we now have no rebels, no rebel leaders, and only 5 to 16 guerrillas. So we're in a really good spot in that regard. We've also got a ton of money, and we've got tourists flocking to our island. We currently have 163 here, and our tourist rating has climbed to 44. Now, that's not good. I think we probably want to keep this around 90, but 44 is better than 2, which is where we were just a little bit ago. But what's not so good is our faith happiness. Things aren't good there, and they're starting to make demands. And here's the thing. They want something that's fairly simple that I've wanted to enable for a while anyway, a single-payer system. So let's go ahead and enable this.
A good deed, Presidente. Performed, no doubt, with absolutely no thought of reward. Yeah.
No thought of reward. But I'm happy that the religious now like me more. And after waiting a while longer, we once again had the opportunity to enable the policy of détente. And this time, because we have no rebels, 0 converted, but 6 guerrillas did. Which leaves us with next to none, and they haven't been attacking us, so I feel like we're in a pretty darn good place now. And before we wrap things up for the day, we got to do a little bit of landscaping and detailing to make all of these new builds feel really special. And some might see spending $500,000 on landscaping and detailing as a frivolous expense, but not El Presidente. And that's because what comes next is a modernized Tropico. High-rise apartments, cruise ships, airports, you name it, it's all coming to Tropico in the next one. But for today, I'm happy to leave Tropico in a place where there are no more guerrillas, we've got tons of money, and El Presidente's 170-year legacy is still intact. And somehow, he's still ruling. And for today, we're going to leave it here. I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and try to eradicate all these guerrillas. And for that, I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.